Hello, welcome again to FAIRtax Power Radio. I'm Bob Paxton.
And I'm Ron Malero.
And we are
the FAIRtax Guys.
And we have got an action-packed episode of FAIRtax Power Radio for you today.
As always.
If you have not heard the interview with Kerry Bowers, which was our last episode out there, you need to go back and pick that one up. We're going to follow up a little bit on that a bit. But first, let me tell you how to get in touch with us. The FAIRtax Guys, all one word there, at gmail.com is our email address. And, of course, we've got a Facebook page, and we'll be doing another Facebook Live here before long. We've got the date set, February the 6th. That's a Monday.
That would be 8 p.m. Eastern in the
8
evening.
p.m. Eastern
Give everybody time to get home from work.
Now, do you know what also happens on February 6th?
You got me.
That is Ronald Reagan's birthday.
Oh!
Just threw that in for good measure. It has nothing to do with the fair tax.
Good for you. Yeah, that's true. Although I'm pretty sure Mr. Reagan would have...
I'm sure he would like it.
Yeah. But anyways, following up on Kerry Bowers' interview, Kerry is a very thorough person. And when Paul Ryan,
now I done got that on your brain, huh?
Paul Ryan came out with his A Better Way tax plan. Kerry went into it, and he's got this whole sheet here. We're going to just kind of go over it.
I could have talked to him for another 2 hours, I think.
Yeah, it would be possible. Because
again, there was a lot of that in that interview that we didn't get to that Kerry has done a tremendous amount of research on the fair tax versus the better way. Let's go ahead and start at the top of the list there.
Yeah, he's got a sheet here, House Ways and Means, A Better Way tax plan, and he talks about the different aspects of the current tax code. First off, it's a whole sheet, almost single-spaced. I mean, that's how complicated our tax code is. Individual wage and compensation, all right? And it's got the changes to the brackets. He's reduced them down to 3 brackets from, I think there's 7 now. Okay, that's good. Mm-hmm. Interest and dividend, each taxed on it. And I'm not going to go into everything in detail, but he also has a number of items that have an asterisk on them, and those are things that are not addressed by A Better Way tax plan by the House Ways and Means Committee.
Which leaves us to assume that they're untouched, and we will continue with what we've got in these particular areas. And the first one is gift taxes. That's a big one.
There's still gift taxes there. We still have individual payroll taxes.
In fact, that's probably the biggest one. The individual payroll taxes, the most regressive taxes on the planet.
Yeah, that's right.
You talk about hurting the working poor, that does it.
That's right. That's a fixed percentage, no matter how much or how little you make. It's a fixed percentage of your income. And that's not addressed by A Better Way. Then he goes down, individual alternative minimum taxes are repealed. That's good. Annual and quarterly individual tax filings, they're still there. They're not addressed. All right. And there's some other things. I mean, pass-through business income. Those are corporations, small corporations in which the tax information passes through to the individual. That's why they call them pass-throughs. And I don't understand why the small companies, pass-throughs, they have a tax rate of 25, but the large C Corps, they have a tax rate of 20. Somebody explain to me why they have different tax rates.
The big companies have better lobbyists.
I guess so.
But that's not facetious. That's the truth, folks.
And so a few more asterisks. Employer Social Security and Medicare taxes, they still have to deal with that.
Yeah, because
all right.
Both the individual and the employers pay that.
That's right. So. Yeah, it's a pain in the butt for both of them. Okay, so there are some good things. Oh, and the last one that Mr. Bowers has identified here is probably the most important one. 16th Amendment required. Yes, it's still required for the new plan. And the 16th Amendment, we now know, is a huge mistake. We need to get rid of it. So, it'll help. He's got reduced rates and he's got simplified stuff and so forth. And it will help, but the question is, how long will it help? And how long before the lobbyists get going again, get things cranked up, start whining and dining members of Congress, and they start adding to the tax code. It won't be long.
I don't know that you really meant to do this, but you have made a perfect lead-in here to a letter that we have here that I am going to let you guess who it came from.
Oh, well, wait a minute. That's but we have some email. Bob is referring to some email.
Oh, okay. You got something else there? Okay, we'll do yours first.
We got this one here. It's from Lowell, And he said, I was reading a recent FAIRtax email and found out about FAIRtax Power Radio. Podcasts are new to me, but somehow I managed to listen to number 38, which I believe is the interview with Randy, wasn't it? I think. Anyways, in it, it is. In it, your guest mentioned the website bigsolutions.org. I went there and things didn't look right. And that's because they weren't right. The solution is really bigsolution.org, singular, not plural. And he goes on to make the point that we need to be more clear, and especially in something like that, make sure that it's singular. And that, he makes a good point, because sometimes we get so used to doing this, we forget some of the finer details that are important to some of the new people. So, Lowell, thank you for reminding us. We will be more careful, but the website is bigsolution.org, and not plural.
Okay,
So
Big Solution, SOLUTIO.
now you got some more. You got some more emails there.
I
don't
have
you?
got something here that I want you to see if you can figure out who, because you just led into this a second ago. See if you can figure out who wrote us this one. Well, kinda. It says, Dear FAIRtax Guys, I have a plan for a better tax system, but some of my friends are saying that my tax plan is just more the same, and it won't be long before Congress starts adding more changes to it, and it will become just as bad as the mess we have now. Now, I'm sure that my plan will help the economy and create jobs. What do you guys think?
Well, our answer is, Dear Speaker Ryan, for the most part,
think
your
you
critics
nailed
are
it.
right. Although you call your plan a better way, it is not the best way. Yes, it will help for a while, but the American people are tired of having a tax code that grows more complex on a daily basis. And they want a stable plan that Congress cannot screw up. They want the fair tax. I mean, that's putting it in a nutshell, but, you know, Paul Ryan's tax plan will not stay as it is for long. We all know that.
Yeah, we have seen this. We keep mentioning this on FTPR, that we have done this exact same thing under President Reagan back in the mid-'80s, and it was great for a while, a very long, sustained period of economic growth, and then the lobbyists and the Congress critters got their hands on it, and now it's worse now than it was back then, and there is absolutely nothing that is going to stop the better way, if it were law tomorrow, from devolving back into another mess just like we've got. The current system is corrupt at its core and needs to go away.
Yep, and it still maintains the corrupt IRS.
Okay.
So, yep.
I have another one for you.
Okay.
Dear FAIRtax Guys, some of the Republicans in the House keep telling me about this fair tax thing, but all my staffers tell me that it'll hurt the poor, favor the rich, and let companies get away with paying no taxes. What kind of crazy plan is this?
Our answer? Dear Mrs. Pelosi, if you would take time to sit down with Steve Hayes, the president of Americans for Fair Taxation, he can explain how the fair tax plan is a Democrat leader's dream. The fair tax is progressive, not regressive. It actually protects the poor from excessive taxation, ensures that everyone pays their fair share, including the rich, and helps businesses grow and create more jobs. And because the economy will grow under the fair tax, the government will collect more taxes and will be able to pay down our debt.
I'm not so sure they'd do that, but it would be nice if they could.
Yeah, it would be nice. That's got to be their highest priority. I mean, we seem to have accumulated a lot of debt in the last 8 years.
Yeah, but let's go back and hit on what is probably the most important point in that letter, and that is that it protects the poor from excessive taxation. It is true. Sales taxes, as you know them, consumption taxes as they are currently administered and collected, are regressive. If you take the same percentage from various different economic people, the lower ones are going to miss that percentage more so than the higher ones. The fair tax does protect the poor by something called the prebate. It is elegant. It is amazing what the prebate will do for the fair tax. We've talked on this again, but it bears repeating. The prebate is giving you back money that you are, paying at the cash register that you don't owe. Because under the fair tax, you do not owe a dime of federal tax until you have taken care of your family's basic necessities, i.e. until your spending rises above the poverty level. And not only does it give everyone, including the poor, the prebate, it gets rid of those regressive payroll taxes we talked about earlier, the Social Security and Medicare taxes that you don't get back. Even if you don't pay any federal income tax, you don't get those payroll taxes back, and that hurts the working poor immensely.
Yeah. And I mean, what congressional leader wouldn't want to protect the people who are most vulnerable to taxes, all right? Give them their entire paycheck, give them the prebate, which the technical name is the family consumption allowance, all right? And make sure that the working poor are absolutely protected, all right, from excessive taxation. And yet, those people who are wealthy and spend a lot of money, they pay more, all right? It's very simple. Once you understand it, you'll demand it. I mean, that's what we always say.
No deductions, no exemptions, no loopholes. It is mathematically impossible for someone who spends a lot of money to pay a lower out-of-pocket tax rate than somebody who doesn't spend much at all. The Warren Buffett versus his secretary example we hear about all the time. He does pay a lower tax rate on his high income than she pays on hers. Absolutely mathematically impossible with a fair tax. The only way that she pays a higher rate is if she spends more money than he does.
Yeah,
probably not going to happen.
Nah, I don't think so. I doubt it.
Oh, right. No, but I tell you what, that is it. And the economic growth with a fair tax, I have heard it described, and I believe it's aptly so, as rocket fuel for the economy.
That's right. Yep. And the guy who said that was Stephen Moore, who is an advisor for President Trump.
Well, speaking thereof, I have another letter for you.
Okay.
Dear FAIRtax Guys, I've been working on a tax plan that will make America great again. But Mike Pence, Mike Huckabee, Marsha Blackburn, Stephen Moore, Tom Price, and many others on my team, they keep telling me that although my plan is great, it's not the greatest plan. What is the greatest plan? It would be huge.
Yeah. Okay.
Now, that should be real easy to guess.
Dear President Trump, whereas your tax plan will help America for a while, since it is an income tax and still maintains the IRS, it won't be long before the tax lobbyists descend on Congress to make more and more changes of your plan. In fact, some are calling your plan and Speaker Ryan's plan the Tax Lobbyist Job Security Act of 2017. Because it will ensure that lobbyists have lots of work to do for years to come. Americans want stability in the federal tax system. They want a tax system that puts American citizens ahead of the federal government. They want a tax system that will make America great again. They want the fair tax.
All right. Well, I hope he listens. But your answer there hit on something that is incredibly important, especially to the business community, small and large businesses, and that word is stability.
Yeah.
Elaborate on that.
Yeah. Well, right now, businesses have a heck of a time. They can't plan for the future because they know from past history that the tax code is going to change. I mean, it's going to change. It's inevitable. We've said before that if you look at the changes to the tax code, like over the last 10 years, it's almost one change for every day that Congress is in session. It's crazy. So businesses cannot plan for the future because they don't know what Congress is going to do to the tax code. Well, how can you run a business if you can't plan for the future? Our tax code is hurting businesses. It stymies them. It prevents them from growing the way they should. So stability to business people is really, really important. And the fair tax will be stable. Why will it be stable? Because it's a very simple plan. It's a 23% sales tax at the cash register by the final consumer. There is no corporate tax plan. All right? There is no corporate tax. And the only thing that Congress can do is change the rate, but if they do, they change it on everybody, so they can't play class warfare. So for businesses, knowing that we have a fair tax and that the consumer pays the final tax and that there's very little for the businesses to do, they can start planning again. They can start looking to the future.
Mm-hmm.
and and hopefully start growing and expanding.
Yeah, another point in that thing, of course, is the tax lobbyists descending on Congress to make more and more changes. You've touched on that. Kerry Bowers touched on that. Randy touched on that. We've been talking about that here on FTPR as well. But the tax code is written for politicians, by politicians, at the behest of lobbyists with campaign cash to give around. That is a corrupt system, ladies and gentlemen, and it's your money that they're taking from you.
Yeah, and you can think of our current tax system, or even under, Mr. Trump's plan or Speaker Ryan's plan, it still puts the income tax up for sale, because that's essentially what's happening. These lobbyists buy off chunks of the tax code. Oh, by the way, legislative alert. I was looking at congress.gov. All right, anybody can go to congress.gov and type in the search bar, instead of looking for a particular legislation like HR 25, just type in income tax and press the search button and see what you get. I did it before I came to the studio today. All right, as we record this, it's only 2 weeks into the new Congress. 2 weeks. There's already 119 proposals for changes to the tax code. 119. It's only 2 weeks, Bob.
Are you kidding me?
It's unbelievable. So if you want proof that the income tax will never stay the same, there it is for you. I mean, just take a look. Anybody, that's a public site. You don't have to subscribe. Although you can subscribe, and then they'll send you updates as to what happens to legislation you care about. But 2 weeks, 119 proposals for tax plan changes.
Well, I'd support two of them, HR 25 and S18.
Yeah, and this one is only in the House. Oh, that's only in the House.
That's only in the
I
House.
Didn't even look on
I hadn't
the Senate
checked the
side.
Senate side yet. Oh, mercy. And we did mention this, that H.R. 25 has been the bill number for the fair tax since its inception in 1999. The Senate bill has changed from year to year. It was 155 last year. It's 18. S18 is the fair tax bill this year. So if you want to go to PopVox, we suggest you do, popvox.com, and weigh in on H.R. 25 and S18 in favor of the fair tax.
Yep. So
I love the name there, the Tax Lobbyist Job Security Act of 2017.
Well, that's essentially what it amounts to, because that's the only thing that's going to be secured by these plans.
And the reason they get away with it is because we, the people, aren't looking.
Yeah.
We are more concerned about other things. We don't pay any attention. As we've mentioned, there has been over a change a day to the tax code going back 10 years or more, and you can't name half a dozen of them.
No.
Hardly one at all.
And it's easy to understand. I mean, my own kids, they're all busy running their jobs or their businesses, raising their family. That keeps them very, very busy, okay? And they don't have time to look into all these changes. We're retired. We have a different story. We like to look at this stuff and let you know about it, because it's the definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result.
All right. Well, I have another letter for you here,
Okay.
Ryan. Dear FAIRtax Guys, I graduated from high school last summer. And when I got my summer job before going to college, something went terribly wrong with my paychecks. What is FICA, F-I-C-A? What is withholding? How come I didn't get everything I earned?
Oh, dear millennial, yes, our current tax system is rather cruel to young workers. FICA is taken out of your paycheck to pay for Social Security and Medicare when you retire.
At least that's the official line. They usually end up spending that money for other things.
However, the cruel joke is that Congress is spending the proceeds from FICA on other stuff besides Social Security and Medicare.
Oops.
It is possible that those programs might not even exist when you retire, but you're required to pay into them now because the federal government and the Supreme Court say that you must. Okay? It is a tax. FICA is a tax. It is not an insurance policy. And it is a tax that's given, withdrawn from your paycheck, given to the federal government, and you hope that Social Security and Medicare will be there when you retire. All right? And I know a lot of people his age, the retirement is the farthest thing from their mind. You need to learn about the fair tax that will make sure that you get your entire paycheck and make sure that Social Security and Medicare are properly funded now and in the future. Go to fairtax.org to learn more. And when you're ready to help, Go to bigsolution.org and do what you can to help. So why is Social Security and Medicare more stable under the fair tax?
Oh, yeah. This is a big one because you've got a much more stable tax base. You've got people who are not paying into the income tax system. Of course, on the Social Security tax, there's a cap on that too. If you make so much, then they stop taking that from you. Social Security and Medicare, as funded currently, are funded only by people who are working for a paycheck.
Yep.
If you're one of these really high achievers, high earners that's getting a lot of dividends, it makes a lot of investment in funding Social Security and Medicare right now. Under the fair tax, when you buy your Learjet or buy your yacht, welcome to the fair tax pool for supporting Social Security and Medicare. That is something that a lot of people are really, we need to hit on this as well, that they are demagoguing the fair tax. Will try to sell you the idea that the fair tax, because it gets rid of those payroll taxes, that it wipes out the programs. No. Absolutely untrue. It is written in black and white in the fair tax bill. You can go to congress.gov and read it, that a certain percentage of fair tax revenue is earmarked, set aside specifically for Social Security and Medicare. And again, with a larger, wider tax base and consumption being a more stable thing to tax than income, Social Security and Medicare will be funded much better than they are right now with the fair tax.
Yep, that's right. That's absolutely right. Social Security and Medicare are more stable under the fair tax. Them's the facts.
All right. Well, I'll tell you, we got time for one, maybe two more. It says,
okay.
Dear FAIRtax Guys, I run a small business that employs 25 people. Keeping up with the tax code is a real pain in the... Excuse me.
Yeah.
I pay my accountant a lot of money to make sure we're following the law and to take advantage of every legal loophole we can find, but the money I spend on complying with the tax code is preventing me from expanding my business and creating more jobs. What can I do?
Dear Mr. Businessman, we feel your pain. The cost of complying with the current tax code is a huge burden for millions of companies, both larger and smaller than yours. If you've been listening to FAIRtax Power Radio, then you know that the fair tax will provide tremendous relief by eliminating much of the need for all that paperwork. You can help by contacting your congressmen and senators to demand that they co-sponsor the fair tax legislation, H.R. 25 in the House and S. 18 in the Senate. You can also contribute to Americans for Fair Taxation by going to bigsolution.org. That's singular, folks. bigsolution.org. Oh, and by the way, don't make the mistake that I did the first time I saw it. I put down an email and sent it to everybody and said it was bigsolution.com. And Randy came back and said, hey, you got that wrong. bigsolution.org. Join the fight. We're glad to have you aboard. Yep. You know, business people have a lot at stake here, and we can make things easier. For instance, the typical small business pays about 7 times more in compliance costs than it does the actual tax itself.
And all that gets passed down to you, the consumer.
That's right. It gets rolled into the cost of their product or service. And we, the consumer, end up paying for it every time. Every time, whether it's, a guy who has a lawn maintenance business or GE. It doesn't make any difference. The cost of doing business is always paid by people, their customers, their employees, their shareholders, but mostly their customers. So we need to help businesses and let them grow and expand and get the IRS out of their hair. And by eliminating the income tax and eliminating the IRS and passing the fair tax.
All right, one more quick one. Dear FAIRtax Guys, I've asked 2 people on my staff to keep me up to date on tax legislation, but they keep telling me there are so many changes it's very hard to keep up with. What's going on here?
Dear Congressman, I noticed that you're not a co-sponsor of H.R. 25. If you've been listening to our podcast, you should know by now that the fair tax, H.R. 25, will end the constant changes to the current system in Congress. All right? What are you waiting for? Go talk to Congressman Rob Woodall of Georgia. He is the primary sponsor of the fair tax. And become a co-sponsor today. Don't waste time. Remember, during your re-election campaign, you don't want someone asking you, Congressman Smith, what is it about the IRS that you love so much? Why haven't you co-sponsored the fair tax? Congressman, don't put yourself in that position.
Oh, yes. Well, hopefully we'll be getting lots of co-sponsors to the fair tax there. That was fun.
Yeah.
Of course, if you haven't figured it out yet, we kind of fictionalize some of those things, but we really do want to hear from you at thefairtaxguys@gmail.com. And if you send us a real letter, we will actually use it. And if you ask us a real question, we will answer it. And
That's
if you
right.
really want to have some fun, you can watch us on Facebook Live. We've scheduled our next Facebook Live event for Monday, February the 6th, Ronald Reagan's birthday, 8 p.m. Eastern time. And Randy Fisher is also going to be, he's not going to be here with us on air, but he's going to be on the side answering some of the comments that people would post. And so we would dearly love to see you here on our Facebook Live, Monday, February the 6th, 8 p.m. Eastern time. And have fun. Write your questions in there. We'll talk to you directly.
Yeah, that's right. That's the thing I love about Facebook Live more than anything is that, yeah, Bob and I get a chance to ham it up, but still, it is interactive. That's really important. People who are watching can type in questions. What about this? And we will address it. You know, Bob and I had a short script for the last one, but as soon as people started asking questions, the script was out the window. But that was good. Spontaneity is great. So it's interactive, so become involved, and we will remind you of it, and we'll put stuff on our Facebook page, too.
Yeah, I like the part when Randy told you to sit up straight.
Yeah, I thought it was my mother.
You have to know Randy to really appreciate that, but we do appreciate that. And again, Big Solution without the S, SOLUTION.org, not .com, is where you go if you want to get involved with helping get the fair tax passed into law. FAIRtax.org, www.fairtax.org is just a huge resource for learning about the fair tax. And then BigSolution.org for getting involved in helping it get passed.
Yep. Do we have time for this quick report here?
Let's see. We got about 3 minutes. Go.
Yeah, this will be fast. All right, this is from Newsmax, and it's dated January 15th of 2017, so it's not too old. Everything, and this is from Dennis Kleinfield. Everything the government does is tied one way or another to the tax system. Yeah, that's true. What is in the question is how should the federal government take money from the private sector to fund perceived needs of the private sector? That's an interesting way of putting it. Mm-hmm. Now, he gets my hopes up here because he talks about the National Taxpayer Advocate says that the first and most obvious need for the government is to meet the challenges of the 21st century. Yes,
wow,
21st century.
That's profound.
Yes. And then the Taxpayer Advocate makes solid recommendations. What are those recommendations? To increase funding for the IRS and increase oversight by Congress. Oh, at that point, I almost fell out of my chair.
I got a better idea. Let's listen to Fair Tax Power Radio and really learn about the best way to do this. And check out your wife's webinar, too.
That's right. Well, I can't say
she doesn't conduct it. She helps promote it.
Yeah, the webinar is the fourth Thursday of every month. And it is at 8 p.m. It's free. You have to register by going to fairtax.org/webinar. Fairtax.org/webinar. Register. They'll send you an email with a link in about 8 minutes. A few minutes before the webinar, you click the link and voila, you're in. And that one's interactive too.
Yeah, if you want to ask a question like we were kind of coming up with on this episode, you may do that, and a very knowledgeable fair tax person will answer it for you.
That's right. Larry and Mark in Orlando run that, and they do a great job.
Okay, and what does Elaine do with that? How does she help that?
She is helped by going to people who registered but didn't log in. She's been sending out emails and helping them increase their
she helps follow up
reach.
She's the audience procurement department.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay. Again, thefairtaxguys@gmail.com. Like us on Facebook as well, and be with us on Facebook Live right on the FairTax Guys page. Not either of our personal pages, but the FairTax Guys page. We'll have our Facebook Live on the Monday, February the 6th, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Hope to see you then.
Yep.
So, until then, we just about out of time here, bud. I know you got a whole big list of stuff. We'll have to hold that off to the next episode.
There's another episode.
Yeah. So until then, until we do meet again, I'm Bob Paxton.
And I'm Ron Malero.
The Fair Tax Guys, reminding you that the fair tax is America's big solution. And once you understand it,
you'll demand it.
Fair tax is coming.